So Netflix German show Dark has finally come to a beginning. See what I did there? Sorry. I copied it from the comment section. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and today we'll be talking about Netflix's German show Dark. Now if you haven't seen the show at all, stop this video right now. But if you haven't completed season 3, it's totally fine, you can still watch the video. There'll be spoilers only at the end of the video and I'll warn you before that. You can stop watching the video then, so no worries. Now we'll be doing a live session on Dark. We'll get into the plot points, we'll get into all the spoilery stuff. We'll break down season 3, we'll get into the ending, we'll get our hands dirty in all the spoilers. So to get that, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so whenever we go live, you'll get a notification for that. I really want to know Christopher Nolan's thoughts on this series because this show is up his alley. People who haven't even seen the show, they know that this show is very complicated because of the memes, of course. And the show is very complicated. Plot wise, the way they executed it, everything is so complicated. But the genius of the show is that we still understand everything at the end of it. We see how the narrative is so complicated, so interlinked. Every character is somehow related to everyone in every timeline. So let's understand how they did it. If you find value in this video, do consider hitting that like button because when you do that, YouTube promotes this video and it can reach to more people. Thank you. First, let's talk about filmmaking. And the first thing in that is the casting. We always overlook this aspect of filmmaking. We never give it due credit. But casting is so important. And particularly in this show, where you have multiple characters in their different ages, you have to cast the characters so they look alike. They look like they are the same person in different stage of their life. And this show just nailed it. It feels like they brought their actor from different ages of his life. It was like impossibly perfect casting. And the casting also plays a big role for us to understand everything. Because just by looking at the character, we know who the character is. Maybe not at the first time we looked at him, but at the later stage, we understand by looking at the character who we are seeing. Next is the most distinct thing about the show, the sound and the music. I think everyone will agree on this that the intro of the show is just amazing, visually as well as the music. Sound design is the highlight of the show. They set up the mood. They use sound to do the transition. If you watch the show carefully, whenever we go from one time period to other, there's a particular sound they use. It's kind of a build-up sound, as if they're gonna reveal something, and it's very intense. And then we cut to a separate timeline, and they do it consistently throughout the show. And subconsciously, we start to understand that now the transition will happen from one time period to the other, giving us a hint, easing the confusion. Many times, the sound is used as there will be a jump scare. But there is no jump scare at all. We are always building up to some big reveal, but it doesn't happen. We have seen a lot of that in horror films, but they totally use it to just set up the mood. Also, just before the end of every episode, we get a music, we get a montage of what happened in the episode. We go through all the characters, and the music always complements the visuals. It always reflects what's really happening in the world, what's really happening in the life of these characters. Now coming to the cinematography, the show is just beautifully shot. The framing was so amazing. You see a lot of symmetry, and that's a big motive in the whole show. We see a lot of symmetrical shots used in the intro as well. They had a particular way of showing the locations. Whenever they show the forest, they show the cave, they show the school, there was always camera coming back slowly, pulling out of the scene, with the sound creating a sense of danger. We are scared of these places, as if they are characters who are going to do something evil to our characters. Even the way they shot the sets, different houses. We know where our characters are, where our character in the different timelines are, because the way they showed us those sets, we remember them. We start to identify them. Again, using that visuals to ease up the confusion. They are not just every time showing us, okay, we are in this year, we are in this year. They don't do that. They only show us the visual and we can, later start to identify, oh, this is the time period they are in. This is the house where they are. This house belongs to that person. And that's the beauty of the show. How they're using different elements in filmmaking to ease up all the confusion that the plot has. Again, there are so many shots in the dark, no pun intended, and the lighting is just amazing. There are so many sequences where someone is entering the cave or exiting the cave. We only see the inner walls of the cave and everything is just black around. There's so many scenes that the camera is outside and someone enters a dark area or the cave and they just vanish in the dark, as if they just disappeared. And that's the beauty of the cinematography, because they're using these visual elements to tell the story. They are not using dialogues or unnecessary information narration to give away that information. They're using the visuals to tell that. And there's an effort put in that. It's not that if you shoot a cave, it will always look like that. No. There's a deliberate attempt by them so everything looks like this, which at the end of the day helps to tell the story. I really loved a lot of styled shots they used in the film. You can consider styled shots as if they are not the real shots. They they didn't happen in reality. It's what's happening in the mind of a character. There was a montage where we see what every character is thinking. It would be a wide shot and the character will be at one place in the frame, and whom that character is thinking about will be standing on the other side of the frame and looking at them. There were many shots like this. Even the portrait shots. I think it was season 1 episode 3 when we finally see all the characters in their different ages and we see the portrait shots of those characters one by one in the present, in the past. I just love those shots because it adds a lot to the show, having its own style that makes the show stand out from other shows. Coming to editing, which is the backbone of this show. The show is all about how you arrange the shots. All the drama, all the intrigue, all the thrill, all the excitement, whatever is created by editing. How you place these shots, what you show next, what comes after that, because that creates a real mystery. So I watched season 1 a long time back and then didn't get time to watch season 2. So before season 3 came out, I binged watched season 1 and season 2. And I noticed in season 1 that they give so much hints about what's happening in the show, how well they use editing for that. Before we know in season 1 that the strange man is Jonas himself from the future. We see the middle-aged Jonas going into the cave. Cut to, we see the young Jonas coming out of this class. Now when we were watching the show, we didn't know anything. It was a normal cut. But after knowing the twist, it makes so much sense. They were hinting at it. And there were a lot of shots like this. Again, using the split screen, visually telling us the difference, showing us the characters from their different ages, using that in montages. Again, visually helping us, easing the confusion. I think many people didn't notice, but there was a lot of VFX even in season 1. Of course, in season 2, the portal and everything, of course, that's VFX. But in season 1, 2, there's a lot of VFX they used. And that's the good VFX because you don't even notice there's VFX. So just shout out to them for doing the good job. So now let's come to the writing. Of course, I'll not go into the plot at all because it's just so confusing to talk about. It's not gonna happen. We'll do talk about season 3 in the live stream. But now talking about the plot doesn't make sense at all. I just love the fact that the characters in this show are not just 3-dimensional, they are 4-dimensional. Get it? Get it? Get it? No? Okay.
4-dimensional because now there's time also a factor. So time is also a dimension. So that's why I said 4-dimensional. Because we always say the characters should be 3-dimensional. They should feel like real characters, but there's a time also playing and all. Understand? Yeah, no, sorry.
And I love the fact that we explore these characters through different ages of their life. One thing I often don't like when we see a character in a movie or a show, they just go through a character arc and then they are perfect. They are done. That's their life. That's their whole life. Now they learn everything. That's it. It never happens like that. Character always evolves. In real life, we always evolve. We don't just go through, we learn something and we are done. That's it. That's we are. No. Every day, every second, we change. We evolve, and that's what this show shows. We see the characters throughout their life. What are the choices they make? What are the flaws they have? Their conflicts, their regrets, everything, and how the decisions they make in the show define them what they truly are. There's a saying that we see a character's true self by seeing the decisions he make in a crisis, the actions he take. That actions define him. A person say, I am courageous, I can fight, I'll do this, I'll do that. But at the time of crisis, when he has to show courage, will he show it or not? That defines him. A very amazing thing of this show is that time travel is not a gimmick. They use this time travel to explore the characters, as I said before, but also to explore a relationship with a particular character. Every character is linked to each other everywhere in all timelines. Consider Ulrich and Aegon Tideman. They are always connected in every time period. Ulrich became a inspector because he hated Aegon Tideman. He hated the fact that he didn't do anything about his brother. He was always just after him. But later we see how Aegon Tideman caught him. He couldn't solve his case because he couldn't understand what's happening with Ulrich. That Aegon's whole life is determined by Ulrich. As if both the characters are connected. They are interlinked throughout their life. They are interlinked in that loop. They both are what they make each other, and they are just going in a loop for infinite time. There are a lot of pairs like this in the show. We also have to talk about Winden, the place. That is also a character in this show. And how do you define a character? They have a backstory, we know about them, we learn about them, we see their evolution, we see a character arc in them, and we see a lot of that for Winden too. We know the history of this place, we know the backstory of this place, how the power plant changed the town, how the events in the show changed the town, the impact it had on the town. People of this town hate Winden as if it was a character, and we feel like we know the place. If we go there in real life, we know this place, we can go around, we can travel around, we will not be lost. In a way, it feels like the place, the town, Winden is stuck with these people, like nature is stuck with humans. There were a lot of times we hear voiceovers, someone reading a letter, someone saying a dialogue, even the play. And over that voiceover, we see different visuals which are complementing the voiceover, which are complementing the dialogues indirectly. Now, coming to the concepts the show tried to explore, of course, the bootstrap paradox, the cycle of 33 years, the time travel, the cause and effect. And we see the cause and effect in real time. You know, the show could have been like we see the present in season 1, we see the past in season 2, and we see the future in season 3. There could have been multiple ways to simplify this show, but they didn't do that because that would not make sense. In real time, the concept they're talking about of cause and effect, we see that. We see that how the future is influencing the present, how the present is influencing the past. We see the cause and effect. We see something happening in the future which is impacting the past. And that's the beauty of the show. That's what this show achieved. Time travel is complicated and they did a justice to it. We are watching this mess unfold on the screen. A lot of times using the concept of deja vu. There are multiple theories about it in real life, but they also used it in different ways. One of the characters tells us the theory of the elephant in the room, where 10 people are left in a room, but they see the different parts of the elephant. But there is one guy who's standing afar and he's seeing the whole picture. He's seeing the whole elephant. And we see that in the show itself, that all of these people are just looking at the parts of the elephant. Even we as the viewers are only looking at the parts of it. We don't know the whole story yet. And only the people who are in control are the ones who have seen the whole elephant, the future versions of all the characters. There was that butterfly concept too, that our life is a dream and when we sleep, we go back to a real world. That we are in a matrix, this is all an illusion. Now let's talk about the themes of the show. The first and foremost is free will. Do we have free will? Do we have choice? Are our actions in our own control? Or is everything fixed? Whatever we do is already set. We'll always do that. That we are not in control. And time. Is it a friend or a foe? There are characters talking about regret. That, we always say we don't have time. We don't have enough time. Oh, I wish we had time. We're always talking about how we lost time. And once it's gone, it's gone. And that's the problem the character in the show are facing. They want to fight that. They want to control time. A lot of people only see this show as, time travel, science fiction. But there are more elements to it than that. The family dynamic. Talking about what family is. Talking about parenting. Talking about the legacy of parents. Ulrich cheats on his wife. And his father also cheated on his wife. Like, is it in the blood? Will the legacy always continue? Do we even know our parents? We see how the kids don't even know their parents. And even we don't know our parents. We don't know what they went through in their life before we came. We see when the kids go in the past, how they see their parents, how different they were. And Wyndon is a small town. Everyone knows everyone. And everyone is hiding something. Everyone has a secret. There's a dialogue that everyone has skeleton in their closet. Their relationships are so weak that they just crumble with one blow. And in all of this, there's a love story too, which is better than Twilight. Now guys, we'll be getting into the spoiler part for season 3. So if you haven't watched season 3, if you're still watching season 3, then stop the video right now and come back when you're done with season 3. So we are starting with the spoilers. You have been warned. First of all, again, I loved season 3. The whole series is amazing. But in season 3, I felt little underwhelmed. There were some times I got little irritated and frustrated because what the series does is they show us the whole cycle. By the episode 7 of season 3, we finally see the whole cycle. We see everything, past, present, future, whatever happened. We see all of it. And that was important. But throughout the show, we always see the characters. Oh, we can change it now, we can change it now, we can change it now. And you're always waiting for it. But you always see, no, it's not changing. It's the cycle just repeating itself again and again. And sometimes it just becomes so frustrated that, come on, move on. Okay, I understand. This is again the cycle repeating. Move on, go fast. I want to see when the change starts to happen. There were some sequences in season 3 which I felt were not needed at all. They didn't help the story go forward. They didn't come back later. There were some intimate scenes which were not needed. Maybe could have been cut down. There was a scene between Magnus and Elizabeth in the bunker in the second world. We just went on forever. I was like, okay, what are they trying to establish? I understood that they are madly in love. I understood their relationship is different here than it was in the World 1. But that scene just went on and there were a lot of more scenes with them which never came back at the end. And I was really pissed off. I was like, just move on. Get to the point. In season 3, we saw the concept of Adam and Eve. How Adam and Eve created all of this. This whole paradox is created by them. How they created human civilization. Now talking about the ending, we'll go in depth in the live stream, but I have to say that I'm still doubtful about the ending. I kind of understand it, but I still don't. Why there are these characters only present in that room? Where are the other characters? What happened to them? And one thing I'm certainly sure is that when at the end Hannah says that she wants to name his kid Jonas, we can believe that Jonas and Martha will exist in this world. So maybe there will be a happy ending. Now let's talk about some of the oh my god moments. I don't know everyone got those moments or not, but I got them and I want to share it with you, and do let me know in the comments if you noticed it or not. Now if you remember in season 2, when the middle-aged Jonas met Hannah, they were staying together for some time. Every time he was in the hall, he looked at a spot on the floor. He was always staring there as if something is there hidden. And we later find out that Martha died there, and that's why he was staring there. Did you notice that? In season 3, we learned that Hannah literally destroyed Katharina in all the timelines. In past, future, present, everywhere, she just destroyed her. Hannah gave Katharina's mother that locket. Then Katharina's mother kills her future daughter, and that locket gets lost near the pond. She fills her bag with the stones and put her in the lake. Now, if you remember in season 2, episode 6, one of my favorite episodes, when we see what happened before Michael commits suicide, we see them in the lake and they're talking about that many years ago, a lady's body was dumped in this lake. And if you go deep inside, you can see her skeleton. That was their mother itself. Oh my god. It was their mother Katharina itself. And then Jonas finds that pendant, that locket, and gave it to Martha. Mind blown. Did you notice that? Did you notice that? Let me know in the comments. So guys, that was the video. That was a review. If you love the show, you want to talk about it more, you want to get into the spoilers, do come for that live session. We'll be going all in depth. So do join us. So guys, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, share this video. If you are not subscribed yet, check out the videos, and if you like them too, do consider subscribing. And hit that bell icon to get notification whenever new video drops. So guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. The end is the beginning. Sic Mundos Creatus Est.